A question that I've been thinking about probably about 10 to 20 times a day is where will go-to-market strategies be in 10 years? And let me give you some context here. I run a couple tech companies, timedoctor.com, runningremote.com, a bunch of other little projects that I kind of get involved in as like an angel investor or advisor. And I've been thinking about how particularly SaaS businesses, and in my case, remote SaaS businesses, scale their organizations. So if you look at the data, it's actually very simple. If you ever have a CMO that tells you to do anything other than content, SEO, paid advertising, or email, probably have a pretty bad CMO. So most $100 million companies that have achieved $100 million in annual recurring revenue in the SaaS space have as their top sources of acquisition those particular three main channels. And those are specifically in order of importance. So it's content and search as one particular category, and that means building blog posts, that means making YouTube videos, that means essentially just doing all of the content that's convincing your ideal customer profile, i.e. you, if you're watching this video, that, hey, this information is relevant and maybe I want to kind of check out Running Remote as an example or Time Doctor inside of what I do inside of my business. And then the second largest source of acquisition is paid acquisition. So a lot of companies can actually get their start on paid acquisition. Essentially right now, I would probably say maybe like content is definitely number one. For us, paid acquisition is approximately like 10 to 20% of our overall funnel when we take a look at it, but it is the second most popular source of paid acquisition. And then the third is email. So emailing people, we have an email newsletter. It's down below if you'd like to be able to sign up for it. And we send people every single week content about remote work, what's happening inside of remote work, what are the newest things that are occurring. And through that, you eventually are number one, interested in going back into our content funnel, which was number one at the top of the list. But then also secondarily, it's just another way for us to be able to talk to you, interact with you in order for you to be ready to buy a ticket to Running Remote or to buy Time Doctor. So let me break down those three major categories because to be completely honest with you, I don't know where those go in the next 10 years when you look at large language models and where they're currently at today. So number one, let's look at content and search. At Time Doctor, we are really good at content and search, and we're okay at the second one, and we're pretty bad at the third one. Email for us has not necessarily been something that I would say we are extraordinary at. Again, if you talk to any CMO and they say that you should be working on stuff like conferences as an example, I would probably say in the vast majority of cases, those are all just additive. And what you need is to be really world-class at least one of those three things. If you're good at two out of the three of those things, you're probably gonna get to $100 million a year. And if you're good at all three, you're gonna get $12 billion revenue per year. And I would have said, work on those three things. Those are the only three things that you need to work on. And if you're not extraordinary at one of those three things, you have a problem. That's what I would have said 2 years ago. Today, with the rise of large language models, search is dying. And that pains me to be able to say that because I worked in search for more than 15 years. It's something that I'm very passionate about. We've built multiple huge assets using search. And if I was gonna start a company today, I probably would not have search as one of my core functions. And that's terrifying for me to say. Because to be completely honest with you, with search, it takes you years to get up and running. And by then I foresee Google sending, honestly, a minority of its traffic off its platform. So if you look at tools like Gemini and ChatGPT, they're really gonna be the new search engine. And I don't know what's going to replace it. So right now, I would say 90% of my Googling is now using ChatGPT. And that was just such an easy switch for me. So I went from trying to figure out answer to a question, getting a whole bunch of search results, clicking on different websites to be able to try to find out that answer, or just asking ChatGPT and immediately getting the answer. I just actually had a book that I'm reviewing for this YouTube channel, which is called Culture Maps by Aaron Meyer. Great book. I read it about 5 or 6 years ago. And I went to Google and I was like, hey, I'm trying to figure out the name of this book. I think it's about how different cultures interact with regards to work. Could not tell me the answer. I had to go to page 3 to actually find the answer. And then I asked that same question of ChatGPT. Oh yeah, Culture Maps by Aaron Meyer. So simple, so easy. Search is now dead. There's still a lot of search volume, so we're not shutting down search at Time Doctor or Running Remote, but we're not investing a significant amount of capital inside of search because honestly, in the next 10 years, I think we're probably going to see maybe 10 to 20% of the search volume going through Google than we see today, which is quite scary. So let's talk about paid acquisition. Paid acquisition is Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok, buying ad spend on websites like CNN, doing retargeting. It's all of where your ads show up. And paid acquisition management will be handled by AIs very, very soon, if not now to a significant degree. So when to bid on a particular ad, how much, in what context, this will all be handled by artificial intelligence. And there are a lot of tools out today that currently do it. And they're just at that first stage where maybe they only have 1 to 2% market share. They are fundamentally a huge jump forward from what we're currently doing today, which is we have 2 people actually in the company, and their only job is to be able to look at all of our ad creatives and our ad spend and identify where that money is being spent and how it's being optimized. Now, I know a lot of people will actually jump up and say, but what about the creative? That's 80% of paid acquisition. And I agree. But even today, if I grabbed all of my competitors' ads, which you can do, you can literally just go to all of the major ad platforms, type in a name of a competitor and pull up all their ads. You can then take that to an LLM, build competitive creatives, and I could probably get 90% of the way there just on my own. I wouldn't need a designer. I could just build these creatives on my own and I could put them up inside of my ad platforms. So my belief is that 90% of the work will be handled by AI and 10% will be the master creative directors that can craft an amazing story through ads. I'll give you a perfect example. I have a buddy of mine works at a company called Trainual. His name's Jonathan, and he's probably one of the best ad guys that I know. And what he's really good at is the creative. So recognizing for his tool, it's a training manual, Trainual, you get it, pretty funny and pretty creative name. And what he's been able to do is realize that he could grab all of the B-level actors from The Office for like $1,000, $2,000 to be able to read off in their character stuff about not understanding how office operations works. And it's really funny. And then it gets millions of impressions for free based off of a very small investment of, let's say, $30,000 or $40,000 to be able to fire off those ads and make them viral. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the top 10% of creative directors that are going to be absolutely amazing. They're still going to exist. They're not going to go away. But the bottom 90% that are just running an ad, they're going away. And I don't really see how we can get out of it. Third category is email. And this will be the easiest one to dominate by far. So we've already seen deliverability and open rates go down quarter over quarter the last few years inside of our company. And this will continue for everyone. We're going to have a situation where everyone will have a perfect campaign. And therefore your skills as a copywriter will essentially be neutralized. And I'm pretty darn good at copywriting. I've probably written at least thousands of emails to large groups of people over my career. And I've realized when I split test my copywriting versus some of these advanced LLMs like ChatGPT 4.0, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, probably dating myself for this particular video, but large scale LLMs. The reality is that they come very close and in some cases beat me in terms of conversion rate, open rate, time on page, click-through rate. So that to me is pretty scary. I remember the first time that we did that, I had a bit of an existential crisis because I realized what I had put myself into, what I had trained myself on, where I had put my 10,000 hours was essentially made redundant by artificial intelligence. And if you're in the middle of your journey right now, becoming one of those master marketers, I don't know where you go. And that's pretty scary to be able to tell you that in as honest a way as I possibly can. But my next big question is, where is the opportunity space for marketing in 2025? People will be making money. I just don't know where. And I actually don't have an answer to this. I'm basically just asking this question and trying to send it out into the metaverse and figure out whether or not someone else has a better answer. Here's some of the things that I'm working on that I think are essentially the best ideas that I've come up with. And this is based off of me having multiple meetings with founders, particularly in the AI space, that are thinking about this constantly. It comes down to 3 particular things. Number 1 is brand. brand. So brand is a really crappy moat. Historically, I probably never would have said, hey, what you need to do is develop a really good brand, but it's the best I have right now. Brand is going to become way more important as we move into an AI marketing world. So if you have a brand now, what I would suggest that you do is invest quite heavily in it. Nobody got fired because they bought IBM. I'm typing on a $3,000 MacBook. I have one of these particular things when basically a $300 PC or a $200 Android phone would do exactly the same job. So brand will be my biggest weapon of persuasion in 2025. And I'm making these particular videos as an example right now, specifically connected to persuasion, to understand how we can start to build out those assets so that we have something where people will say, oh, Liam from Time Doctor, I trust that guy and I'm gonna buy something from him, as opposed to me just being on equal footing with everyone else, because I don't wanna be on equal footing with everybody else, and neither should you if you're a marketing professional in 2025. Number two is community. Community is going to become so much more important, and it's essentially going to act as an extension of brand. And a lot of people kind of think it's the same thing, but I don't. I think it's something very different. So if you can get people to love the community they're in outside of what you're selling them, then you can persuade them into buying in or buying more of that particular thing. So Slack communities, local meetups, conferences like runningremote.com, they're all examples of this. And for me, if I was starting something in 2025, I would first figure out a community and build a community around the problems that I was thinking to solve before I even built a solution to that particular problem. Number three is personal social media and thought leadership. So customers don't follow brands, they follow people, and those people feed the brand. And now I'm literally seeing that the personal brand is more important than the corporate brand. So if you think about it in this context, Elon is bigger than Tesla. Mr. Beast is bigger than Feastables. Logan Paul is bigger than Prime. Sam Altman is bigger than OpenAI. They literally tried to fire him and it almost collapsed the entire company. So the person is a bigger brand than the company, but they're intrinsically linked, okay? So you need to be able to actually recognize how you can build out those assets. And what I'm doing is doing videos like this, posting on LinkedIn, encouraging everyone in the company to be able to build out their own personal brands, to be able to feed into Time Doctor. And there's a bunch of really good companies that are doing this. One of the best ones I think is HubSpot, to be completely honest with you. But if you are behind in that, if you do not have a personal brand, if people don't know the person behind the worker, you need to actually start building this now. So I know that this is like incredibly random. I didn't even have a script for this. I'm just kind of working my way through it. What are your thoughts on this? Do you agree with this? Do you not agree with this? I know that I talk to a lot of founders and business owners on this YouTube channel outside of just remote work stuff. So let me know down in the comments below whether you agree or disagree with this. I'd love to hear your feedback. And other than that, I hope to see you in the next video. And please give me an answer to this question, because again, it's something I'm thinking 10, 20 times a day on. So I'd really leave some help on it. Hope you see you in the next one. Bye. If you've gotten to this point in the video, I think you should probably subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's free, unlike most other things in life, and it would bring me happiness and joy. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one.